A very good afternoon and welcome to News Central TV. I am Ina Maso, bringing you the top stories at this hour. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar urges INEC to reschedule 2027 elections over clash with Ramadan. The African Union Commission chairperson urges end to conflict in Africa. And Guinea-Bissau opposition figure appears before a military panel over alleged coup plot. Back with the details shortly. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who has urged the Independent National Electoral Commission to reconsider the date for the 2027 presidential election, citing its overlap with Ramadan. He said the timing could affect voter participation and overall engagements. Now, INEC has scheduled the general elections for February 20th of 2027, with the governorship and state assembly polls set for the 6th of March. Party primaries are planned between May 22nd and June 20th of 2026. Atiku stressed that elections require careful planning and broad inclusion in a diverse country like Nigeria, warning that poor timing could undermine the process. He questioned the electoral body's readiness and called for a date that ensures maximum participation and fairness across all religions. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joash Amupitan, has announced Friday, the 20th of February 2027, as the date set aside for Nigeria's next presidential election. The announcement was made in Abuja as the electoral body unveiled a comprehensive timetable and schedule of activities leading up to the 2027 general elections. The commission says the early release of the timetable is aimed at giving political parties, stakeholders, and voters adequate time to prepare, while also promoting transparency and credibility in the electoral process.
Presidential and National Assembly election will come on the 20th February 2027. 2. Governorship and State Houses of Assembly will be 6 March 2027. The detailed timetable and schedule of activities have been uploaded to the Commission's website. Therefore, in exercise of the powers conferred on the Commission by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, and the Electoral Act of 2022, and all other powers enabling it in that behalf, the Commission hereby sets in motion the electoral process for the 2027 general election. As we commence this important national exercise, I assure Nigerians that the Commission is fully prepared and determined to deliver an election that reflects the sovereign will of the people. On behalf of the Commission, I hereby formally release the notice of election and the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2027 general election.
Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has unveiled plans for a mock presidential exercise to test its electronic transmission systems. INEC's chairman, Professor Joash Amupitan, disclosed this at a news conference in Abuja on Friday, while confirming key dates for the nationwide elections. According to the Commission, the mock exercise will assess the reliability of its technology infrastructure ahead of the elections, as preparations begin to ensure transparency and operational readiness across the country. Joining us now on the news to discuss this is a global analyst, Bolu-Michael-Biyi. He joins us from Eswatini. I want to believe that barrister Gozie Nwachukwu, Organising Secretary, PDP Imo State, also joins us from Abuja. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Bolu, I'll start with you. Now, following the announcement by the Independent National Electoral Commission fixing February the 20th as the presidential date for presidential polls, how feasible is the preparation window for, first of all, political parties, regulators, and other stakeholders to meet the key milestone?
All right. I was saying that the timeline is officially adequate, but practically tight, because Nigerian political parties struggle with internal organization, and INEC itself has a track record of missing deadlines in terms of voter registration and deployment of technology, and also logistical preparations, even when ample time is given. We saw that in the run-up to the 2023 general elections, when INEC announced the timetable in February 2022. That's a full year in advance. Yet it still faced delays in the distribution of the permanent voters card and conducting the party primary smoothly and uploading the result in real time. In fact, some polling units didn't receive materials on election day, despite this long lead of time that was given. So the real constraint is not really in the release of timetable. We've seen that happen in the past. The real constraint is in the procurement and distribution of infrastructure materials, not time. So as we know, the INEC operates through the tertiary state offices and the local government areas. They have the inconsistent capacity. So the delivery point is to decentralize procurement and the positioning of material. So INEC needs to finalize and publish a binding quarterly MICE checklist by, I guess, the Q2 of the previous election year.
Now, Nwachukwu, how prepared is the Independent National Electoral Commission to manage emerging risks such as misinformation, cyber threats, and the protection of electoral technology infrastructure ahead of the 2027 elections?
Thank you for having me. Obviously, from all indications, if you listen to what the INEC chairman said, that they were not even in control of the means of transmission or transfer or whatever mode of electronic mode of the transmission of results, and that also casts some doubt in the readiness of INEC with things that have to do with cybersecurity, internet availability and access, and all those kind of things. So the man already who is at the helm of affairs has already told you that they are not ready by his words. So it's a challenge, and it's unfortunate because for things like transmission of results and things like the use of technology in our elections, these things didn't start today. They have been experimented before now in several elections, and no one would have thought that by now there would have been significant improvements in things that have to do with cybersecurity and the use of electronic means, accreditation and transmission of results. So I'm really surprised that the INEC chairman is still talking about them not being in control of certain things or not knowing whether those things could be done. And these are things that have been done before. So I don't know whether that is just an abdication of responsibility or a ball passing, or maybe because they don't even have the fund, maybe they don't have the funds or something, because INEC is also heavily dependent on government funds, like they've done their budget is out and all that. They also get donor funds and from modalities and all that, but they rely heavily on government funds, and we know that from all indications, the 2025-2026 budgets in Nigeria have not really been implemented. So funding could also be a problem with improving on some of these very critical of elections. So I don't think INEC is ready.
Now, Nwachukwu, you just mentioned that they did say that they were not ready, but it's also been reported that they want to do the exercise to test the systems. What does this basically communicate to us in terms of their preparation? Are they trying to check the kinks in the system, or are they just trying to appease the masses by saying this is the work and we are trying to make ourselves ready?
The truth of the matter is that these elections cycles are not decided, out of the blues. The timetable for elections are guided by law, by the provisions of the guidelines for the conduct of elections made pursuant to the Electoral Act and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The presidential elections and the National Assembly elections and the general elections, there's a time frame when they should be held. 3rd week in February, and then 2 weeks after you have the state elections. But the presidential election is held 3rd week in February. Then the state elections, governorship and state assembly are held 2 weeks after. So what it means is that a responsive organization should have planned ahead to deal with these issues When you're coming few, maybe months or maybe a year to something, and you're still talking about running certain things, and you're still talking about you're not sure of certain things, I'm just telling you, my deduction is that they are not ready. They are usually not ready. They grapple with a lot of things. I can tell you that some of the equipments they need to procure, maybe even from outside our shores, may not have been done now. And some of these things may need to have been fabricated before now. Even some of the printings and productions of materials they require for these elections the contracts may not have been awarded. So I tell you, they are not ready. They are usually not very ready. It is usually a crash program because they believe that once they get money, everything will be done. But I can assure you, as of today, INEC is not ready.
It's a bit sad that it would sound as though we are setting up ourselves to fail because we are aware of these glitches. But Bolu, to what extent does the early release of the election timetable strengthen public confidence and international perception of the process, particularly under the leadership of Joshua Mopitan?
All right. Early announcement is a sign of the intention for transparency, but it doesn't automatically equal credibility, because Nigerian voters and observers have seen early timetables before, but what matters is the execution. So announcing a date 2 years, away is easy, but delivering a clean, free election is very hard. And I'm really, really concerned because it seems like the glory days of Nigeria was in the 90s. We don't really see any major stride across the economy in the 2000s rather. If we look at the fairest election, it was 1993. Even if it goes, the glory days was 1994 to 1997. The best democratic government, arguably, that we've had was in 1999. So what's happening that we're in 2026, and the issue is that, ready for this and that, the electronic transmission and all that. And there are plus 600 million people vote in India, and they do that with such efficiency that it should be a global case study, and they release their election results within 24 hours. But it's the opposite in Nigeria, much fewer people, and then we wait for several weeks or several days or sometimes up to a week before we get election results. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu released INEC's 2023 timetable early as well, and it was even praised internationally. Yet the election still faced massive consequences. The beavers was malfunctioning everywhere across the nation. The result upload was failing. The widespread allegations of vote buying and legal disputes that went all the way to Supreme Court. So early announcement doesn't mean that there won't be failures. I feel that the problem of Nigeria election is very systemic, and it's not something that will erase overnight. That's understandable. But as we proceed in our election, we should visibly see that things are getting better. We have 4 good years to prepare, and it's the same issue that we face each election cycle. Something is wrong somewhere, and I wish Nigeria could just put our hearts together and just deliver free, fair, credible elections and not make elections. Thank you.
Still on you, Bolu, drawing from previous election cycles, what persistent challenges, because we all are aware that they are there, what persistent challenges from logistics, from security threats, and just from legal disputes or even voter empathy could still threaten the credibility of the 2027 vote?
All right, I have a personal principle that early preparation is the secret of success, but may not necessarily apply to everything, because early planning doesn't fix a broken system. It can only give more time was to manage them. See, the Nigerian electoral processes are structured, they are systemic. We're talking about inadequate security in volatile regions like in the north, litigation that drags for several months, voter intimidation, especially in the rural areas, because these are vulnerable people who usually stay in those parts of the country, and also logistic failures caused by poor infrastructure. We'll go again to the 2023 election that was postponed and cancelled in parts of Kogi State, River State, and also Lagos due to violence and ballot snatching. I hope that's not going to be the case in the forthcoming election. So the real constraint is a weak state enforcement capacity and a judicial backlog. So I want to see a situation whereby the federal government is establishing a dedicated electoral offences court with a 6-month resolution mandate for pre-election and post-election disputes. Simultaneously, I want to see the Inspector General of Police to deploy a permanent Electoral Security Task Force, to identify the flashpoints starting from next month. It doesn't take time to mobilize and deploy. This shouldn't be done 3 weeks before election, because early intervention prevent escalation.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your insight. I'll let you go on that note. We're going on a quick break now, but when we return, more reports right here on News Central. Stay with us. You're welcome back. Now, Nigeria's National Assembly has once again come under scrutiny as a civil society group in Abuja has thrown its weight behind calls for compulsory electronic transmission of election results during the upcoming general elections. The group, also known as Resource Nigeria Alliance, made this known while speaking to newsmen in Abuja. The chairman of the group, Basil Norsilas, says the alliance will converge at the National Assembly headquarters for a peaceful protest on February the 16th to press home their demand to the Senate.
Under this amendment, lawmakers have reduced the timeline for an INEC to publish a notice of election from 360 days to 180, yet refuse to strengthen the most critical safeguard, the compulsory real-time upload of polling unit results to the official portal. Instead, they have chosen to retain a weaker discretionary provision on the electronic transfer of results. Nigeria did not ask for ambiguity. Nigeria asked for enforceable real-time transparency that shuts the door against the manipulation during manual collation.
Our aim is to see that Nigeria democracy works. And what we have currently, the suppression of transparency by the National Assembly, a body that is expected to project democracy in good light, we cannot sit back and watch that. So we'll explore all available avenues democratically to see that we challenge this rascality, this shenanigans that is holding Nigeria backward.
Now, ahead of the National Assembly's harmonization meeting to adopt a final version of the amended Electoral Act, which will provide a workable document for the 2027 general elections, several civil society organizations have called on lawmakers to adopt the version passed by the House of Representatives, which require presiding officers at polling units to electronically send results to INEC's IREV portal in real time.
If it is in line with what the citizens want, and the citizens are, in this instance, they have the right to hire and fire, then that should be, we should be able to pass that law to enable them execute that right. If that does not happen and we get that of the Senate, or the third option is we even get nothing at all. So let's assume they even pass it and the president refuses to sign, which we do not expect. If Nigerians have said this is what they want, we expect that the president would graciously sign it into law. That of the House of Representatives, which is what we are pushing for.
Elections constitute the foundation for democratic governance, providing citizens the opportunity to freely choose their leaders and hold them accountable. The credibility of elections determines the legitimacy of governments and the stability of political democratic systems. Nigeria's electoral history, however, has been marked by widespread electoral malpractices, manipulation, and disputes, which have weakened public trust and undermined democratic consolidation. The expert meeting was organized as part of ongoing national efforts to strengthen Nigeria's electoral framework and ensure that electoral reform enhances transparency, accountability, and public confidence in democratic processes.
Away from that, a presidential aide, Sunday Dare, says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will take a measured decision on the electronic transmission of election results, guided by Nigeria's realities and infrastructure capacity. The Senate recently approved electronic transmission of results to the Independent National Electoral Commission results viewing portal, the IREV, with manual collation allowed where network failures occur. Dare questioned the feasibility of a full real-time transmissions, noting that no system is completely flawless. Still talking elections, the Federal Capital Territory Command commanded if the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps says that it will deploy 4,000 personnel across 6 area councils for the upcoming February 21st polls. The commandant of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps FCT Command, Olushola Odumosu, gave the assurance while receiving a delegation from the National Peace Committee at the command's headquarters in Abuja. Odumosu, while assuring residents of adequate protection before, during and after the elections, says that covert operations will be assigned to identify flashpoints in order to prevent intimidation, harassment, or interference of voters by political thugs. Now, President Bola Tinubu has departed Abuja on a one-day official visit to Kebbi State, where he will inaugurate key projects executed by Governor Nasir Idris. The president will also headline the 61st edition of the 2026 Agugu International Fishing and Cultural Festival as special guest of honor. The festival, regarded as one of Africa's most celebrated cultural event, takes place along the historic Mantana Fada riverside and has been recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, highlighting Nigeria's rich culture, heritage, and tourism potential. We're going to a quick break now, but when we return, we have more stories right here on News Central TV. You're welcome back. Now, President Bola Tinubu has departed Abuja on a one-day official visit to Kebbi State, where he will inaugurate key projects executed by the Governor Nasir Idris. The president will also headline the 61st edition of the 2026 Agungu International Fishing and Cultural Festival as the special guest of honor. The festival, regarded as one of Africa's most celebrated cultural events, takes place along the historic Matan Fada riverside and has been recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, highlighting Nigeria's rich cultural heritage and tourism potential. The General Officer commanding a 3-division and Commander Operations Enduring Peace, Major General Fuloshu Oyilola, has stressed the need to strengthen community-based conflict resolution mechanisms that will boost non-kinetic measures and ensuring a more peaceful environment in Bakin Ladi local government area of Plateau State. The Major General was speaking at a decentralized stakeholders engagement meeting held before the commencement of the New Year's farming season in Barkin Ladi local government area of the state. News Central's Chizoba Ainowe was there and now tells us more.
Barkin Ladi local government area remains one of the worst hit councils in Plateau State following violent attacks where many lives have been lost and property destroyed. Many here are herders and farmers who had once lived peacefully, but today the story is different as the trust which once existed between them has been eroded. General Oyinlola on this premise has banned night grazing within the council, while stating that it is one of the major causes of violence among locals.
I have given the directive that any person who is found carrying out mining at night should be arrested and will face the full wrath of the law. We are here to jointly fashion out practical modalities for peaceful coexistence, particularly as we approach the commencement of the farming season.
Community members call for transparency in resolving existing conflict, saying that if the right measures are put in place, peace will return back to the plateau.
The government is making efforts to ensure that these people return back to their homes. And if they are unable to return back to their homes, they will not be able to farm. I pray that these people come back to their locality.
We are losing our children in drugs. We are losing so many of them that have left their families in their homes. They are being resided in so many hotels with other women.
I want to suggest that in different chiefdoms, when mining season comes, time for plowing the land comes, I will suggest that a suspension of maybe a week or two is given so that everybody go back to the land and farm.
There was a symbolic presentation of bags of fertilizers by General Oyinlola to both Christian and Fulani farmers as one of the non-kinetic measures approved by the Chief of Defense Staff to ensure a peaceful and successful farming season in Plateau State. For News Central, Chizoba Anyuri.
Now, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating the performance and benefits accrued to the federal government from concessionaires operating at airports and seaport terminals, as well as related shipping activities from 2006 all the way through 2025, has given relevant agencies, stakeholders, and others a 7-day ultimatum to submit all requested documents. A chairman of the committee, Koluwale Akinlayo, issued the directive during a public hearing in Abuja, attended by key stakeholders, including the Nigeria Customs Service, the Nigerian Ports Authority, as well as the Infrastructure Commissioner Regulatory Commission, among others. The committee had intentionally proposed a 72-hour deadline for the submission of documents, but following appeals during the session, resolved to grant the agencies the time or the lapse of between Monday to Friday of next week to comply.
This is not a vision team committee. We are not here to vision to anybody. We are here to work for the benefit of Nigerians, and we are very serious about it. So asking for submission is helping you out of this quagmire, because if it happens, it's from your head, so it's none of my business. But you must give us the document that is requested of you, and we attach a data to that document. Yeah, there's a template. We don't need plenty gala must go. We have a template attached to it. So just follow that template and make the submission. It's as simple as that. So giving you 72 hours, I know what I'm saying, because we've already helped you halfway. So it's just the rest is you need to help yourself and do the needful.
Most of you that are here saying that have not listened to that agreement. Most of you that are here are not signatories to the agreement. You have not even seen it. And you're here just talking and talking and talking. Speaking to what you don't know.
And away from that, a River State High Court in Port Harcourt has sentenced 4 persons to death by hanging for the murder of a superintendent of police, Bako, a former divisional police officer of Ahod East. Justice Sika Aproku ruled that the prosecution proved charges of conspiracy, murder, cult membership, and robbery beyond reasonable doubt, including against a native doctor linked to the crime. The court also sentenced Samuel Nwadima to 3 years in prison for conspiracy, while 1 defendant was discharged and acquitted of all counts. 5 other defendants were released after serving maximum terms of cult-related offenses. Now, one of Africa's leading investors and business moguls, Tony Elumelu, has commended the current administration's commitment to empowering young business owners and expressed optimism about ongoing economic reforms, particularly improvements in monetary policy and foreign exchange stability. Elumelu highlighted the importance of reliable electricity supply to Nigeria's economic development following a meeting with President Bola Tinubu, stressing the need to address outstanding payments in the power sector to boost energy generation. He commended the federal government's commitment to revitalizing the economy and supporting expansion.
Improvement in access to electricity is critical for economic development. Mr. President realizes this, embraces it, and is committed to doing more, especially helping to fast-track the payment of the power sector debt so that the power generators can do more for the country. That is very, very critical. All of us who are in the power sector are owed significantly, but in spite of that, we continue to generate electricity. So we want to see the payment made so that there will be more provision of electricity to the country. Access to electricity is critical for the development of our economy. In a summary, I was impressed with Mr. President's commitment to supporting small and medium-scale enterprises. I was impressed with Mr. President's commitment to young entrepreneurs. I was impressed with Mr. President's commitment to energizing the power sector so that we can power Nigeria's economy.
Now, one of Africa's biggest cultural gatherings, the Agungu International Fishing Festival, is drawing excitement in Kebbi State as colorful traditional sports, cultural display, and community competitions take center stage. from archery to catapult shooting to dambe boxing. And the festival continues to showcase heritage while attracting visitors from across Nigeria and beyond. Our correspondent Sumaya Abubakar reports.
Activities at the festival feature traditional contests including archery, catapult shooting, dambe boxing and tug of war, attracting participants and visitors from across the country.
People from various walks of lives that are, in this of Argungu have, moved back, from Lagos, Abuja, Ibadan, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, wherever they were, and come down. There's love, that's understanding the unity and love of the, for tradition and culture of our people.
Oh, this is our heritage. Having the world celebrate with us is awesome. It's the least I can say. So I'm really happy. The turnout is very, very good.
I am very widely exposed. I know that everybody is created equal. I don't discriminate. And I know after the Civil War, the Argungu Festival was initiated so that they promote national unity, national love, national cohesion.
The festival is also promoting agriculture and local businesses through farm produce exhibitions and increased trading activities within the community.
This is a good thing for us. We that we are sitting at home, sometimes we didn't have work to do. But doing this little program, we have a little thing that we can feed our baby and buy some things with it, even though our husband is not closer to us.
Akwai abubuwa da dama waɗanda na ƙara jin daɗi a kansu. Domin number one wajen hida da aka yi ta bisa shi. An yi fiɗa inda wani ya yi fiɗa daga ƙasar ƙaramar hukumar mulki ta Gwandu shi ya zama na ɗaya cikin minti 4 ya heɗe bunsuru ne.
The Argungu International Fishing Festival continues with more sporting events and cultural showcases expected to draw even larger crowds in the coming days. From Argungu for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
Now, many Lagos residents are turning to roadside drug vendors for treatment, not by choice, but out of necessity. Rising hospital costs, long waiting hours, and poor access to primary health care have pushed thousands to seek relief on the streets, often at great risks. Our report takes a closer look at the growing dependence on street medicine in Lagos.
On the streets of Lagos, medicine is sold openly. From packaged pills to locally mixed herbal concoctions, displayed in bottles and plastic containers. For many residents, these roadside vendors, selling both modern drugs and traditional herbal remedies, have become their first points of care.
Àgbo náà là ń ta, ó dẹ̀ pé oríṣiríṣi àgbo. Ẹ mọ̀ pé oògùn nǹkan tó gùn ni. So àgbo dẹ̀ jẹ́ nǹkan tó jẹ́ pé nǹkan ìbílẹ̀ táláyé ti dáyé tó ti ń ṣiṣẹ́ tó yàtọ̀ sí capsule. So ẹ lè fi àgbo compare oògùn. Lóòótọ́ oògùn náà níṣẹ́ tóun náà ń ṣe tó dájà àgbo lọ o, but àgbo ó jẹ́ nǹkan tó jẹ́ pàtàkì lára wa tí ò ní side effects kankan tẹ́ pé it's very very natural.
Tó bá ní malaria tó bá wá a máa ṣàgbo fún ó máa lọ. Tó bá dẹ̀ ní infection a máa ṣàgbo infection fún ó máa lọ. Ẹni tó bá ní kòkòrò lára àbí ńlá a máa ṣàgbo fún Ọlọ́run á jẹ́ wa agbára ó dẹ̀ máa lọ. A máa ṣe para sí ó máa lọ láyọ̀ àtàlàfíà.
From malaria and infections to body pains and cough, many Lagosians say combining herbal mixtures with conventional drugs offers quick and affordable relief.
It's working, and the drug is even very effective more than the English one. Like if you want some drugs now and we want to give you some, maybe infection treatments can guarantee you maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and the medicine will work very perfectly.
But health experts warn that this convenience, especially unregulated herbal preparations, comes with serious risks. Wrong dosages, unsafe mixtures, and self-medication have led to complications, some life-threatening.
We also see so-called herbal mixtures contaminated with steroids, antibiotics, heavy metals, or strong painkillers without the user's knowledge. The results: liver and kidney failure, heart complications, infertility, antibiotic resistance, delayed treatment, and in some cases, deaths. This is what we witness daily as healthcare workers. Now, is this happening because hospital drugs are expensive? Cost plays a role, but it's not the full story. People rely on strict medicine because of poverty, lack of health insurance, limited access to healthcare facilities, long waiting time, sociocultural and religious beliefs, previous negative experiences with health systems, and misinformation from social media.
Regulatory agencies say enforcement remains difficult as economic hardship continues to drive demand for both street drugs and herbal alternatives. Until healthcare becomes more accessible and affordable, the streets of Lagos may continue to serve as the city's most crowded and potentially dangerous blend of pharmacy and traditional healing center. From the streets of Lagos, for News Central, Emmanuel Olubobukun.
Now, still coming up, officials record 11 deaths in gold mine collapse. Details of this report and more after the break. Stay with us. Now, in an interesting report, Vice President Kashim Shettima says Nigeria is pushing for a major overhaul of Africa's healthcare system, calling for a stronger domestic capacity and less dependence on foreign aid. Speaking at a high-level side event during the 39th Ordinary Session of the African Union Assembly in Addis Ababa, Shettima urged African leaders to embrace health security sovereignty and build resilient, self-sufficient healthcare systems across the continent. News Central's State House correspondent Bettina Nweli reports.
Has called for a continental shift towards health security sovereignty in Africa, urging nations to build self-sufficient healthcare systems and reduce reliance on foreign assistance. Speaking at the 39th African Union Summit in Ethiopia, Vice President Kashim Shettima reaffirmed Nigeria's readiness to partner with African nations to build a continent capable of addressing its own health challenges.
It is a promise that the next health emergency will find Africa prepared, not pleading. A promise that our children's survival will not depend on the speed of decisions taken thousands of kilometers away. A promise that African governance, African enterprise, and African innovation can converge to secure African lives. Nigeria stands ready to collaborate with every member state of our union to make health security sovereignty measurable.
Today, Africa is still facing a challenge: 6 million shortage of health workers. If we don't do anything, if we don't stop that, we are facing a major trouble.
Ministers present at the forum also called for stronger political commitment and increased domestic financing, urging leaders to accelerate progress toward the continental target of 2 million community health workers by 2030 to strengthen Africa's healthcare resilience.
As we work towards 2 million community health workers by 2030, it's an idea that has been long-standing, but we have the tools and a path across the continent, not each of our countries, but working collectively. And I thank my brother, the DG Africa CDC, who is proposing that Nigeria host another conversation based on the investment case, so that we raise the resources to enable this dream to turn into reality.
Nigeria says it remains committed to leading efforts aimed at strengthening Africa's capacity to respond to present and future health challenges. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nweli.
Still in Addis Ababa, the chairman of the African Union Commission has raised concerns over escalating conflicts across Africa, urging renewed commitment to peace as leaders gather at the bloc's 39th summit. Mohamed Yusuf highlighted the crisis in Sudan, the Sahel, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and Somalia as pressing threats to stability on the continent. He also addressed war in Gaza, describing the situation in Gaza Strip as a moral challenge for the world, and called for an end to killing of Palestinians. Leaders are meeting to deliberate on the stability and water sanitations across members of states.
Soudan au Sahel, à l'est de la République démocratique du Congo, en Somalie et ailleurs, nos populations continuent à payer le prix fort de l'instabilité. Au Moyen-Orient, la Palestine et la souffrance de son peuple interpellent aussi nos consciences. L'extermination de ce peuple doit cesser.
Now, News Central's Bongani Siziba is in Addis Ababa covering the summit and joins us now with the latest developments. Bongani, if you can hear me, please give us the report on what the atmosphere is like there and what's happening thus far.
A very good afternoon to you and also our viewers at home. And today marks the official opening of the significant event here at the 39th AU Summit, where leaders from across the continent and beyond are gathered here to discuss issues affecting Africa. The ceremony kicked off with speeches. Notably, Ethiopian Prime Minister delivered an address highlighting remarkable achievements by Ethiopia, emphasizing the importance of amplifying African voices on a global stage. And he also stressed the destiny of Africa must be shaped by Africans. And also he spoke about how Ethiopia has empowered young girls, especially from the rural areas, to break free from poverty. But notably also the UN Secretary delivered his remarks, the cooperation between the UN and Africa, highlighting also security cooperations, peace, silencing the guns in his speech, and also prioritizing developments that have happened in Africa and how African leaders should embrace that. He also made a joke saying that this is not a farewell. We know that you will be leaving the UN as the UN Secretary at the end of this year. He also emphasized that Africa will always be in his heart. But earlier, before the opening ceremony, there was also side events, the presidential breakfast dialogue with business people, round table, delegates exploring ways to foster economic ties and infrastructure development. But also during the ceremony, Italy Prime Minister also spoke about contributing to Africa's market through railway projects. So as far as these discussions are going on here, we saw the opening ceremony that just happened. So leaders here are just discussing what the future of Africa. But while they are here also discussing that, citizens outside here are waiting and hoping that these discussions or these meetings here will translate into tangible results. And also we have critics who also have come out and saying that they have seen this kind of meetings, especially the Africa Union, an annual event that happens here in Addis Ababa, but it hasn't translated into tangible results. Is whatever they discuss here, when it ends here. So they are urging and calling on African leaders that when they leave this place, whatever the discussions that have happened here, they are tangible, and African citizens are also waiting. For now, it's back to you in the studio as we continue to monitor this AU summit that is happening here. It opened today, and tomorrow we'll see heads of states meeting and discussing various discussions on development, how Africa can develop further from here. It's now back to you in the studio.
Now, away from that, in business news, the Dangote refinery has increased daily petrol supply to 40.1 million liters. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority said the rise reflects a stronger refinery throughput and logistic optimization, improving availability of petrol across major consumption centers. Regulators say the increased supply has helped ease pressure on domestic stocks and reduce reliance on imports while supporting price stability in the pumps. Industry sources noted that sustained high outputs depends on a consistent feedback supply and efficient distributions. reinforcing the refinery's role in strengthening Nigeria's energy security and refining capacity. Now, Nigeria has ordered 1.37 million electricity meters from China using funding from the $500 million World Bank loan the federal government announced. The meters will support the national drive to improve power revenue collections and curb electricity losses by replacing old or estimated billing systems. The procurement is part of broader reforms in the energy sector aimed at boosting efficiency and investment in distribution networks. Authorities say expanding metering coverage will help increase collections, enhance service delivery, and build confidence among power investors and stakeholders nationwide. That's how we wrap it up for you at this hour. But before we go, another look at some of our major stories. We told you this afternoon that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has urged INEC to reschedule 2027 elections after clash with Ramadan. The African Union Commission chairperson has urged end to conflicts in Africa. We also let you know that Guinea-Bissau opposition figure appears before a military panel over alleged coup plot. Now, please go ahead and remember that you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can always watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTime channel 274. You can download the AVO TV app, and wherever you are, you can always find us on YouTube.